It hasn't really even started in the NFL. New league year starts on Monday. Here is the tamperless window, and it started boom, 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 boom. Heck, it actually even felt like it started yesterday, Monty.
Absolutely.
Because you had players who were released from their contracts that were able to sign other places, and then maybe it started on Friday with the Geno Smith trade to the Raiders. Maybe that was the point. The point being is the new league year isn't until Wednesday, and the face of the NFL has already drastically changed with so many moves today.
Yeah, no, I was confused with the Devontae Adams signing because of that free agency you're talking about. It's like, I knew he was released. I didn't know he could sign already.
Yes.
That was shocking. No, it's definitely been in the works for longer than just a few hours.
And the Sam Darnold to Seattle thing, to me, hits home because if you've listened, I'm a Seahawks fan. Whether you follow me on X, I don't always tweet about the Seahawks, or you follow me on Blue Sky, at Dan Beyer, by the way, is where you can find me.
Get that in there.
I do like to talk about when the Seahawks are in the news because a lot of times, even though I have told you my not disdain for the new Seahawk fans, the ones that don't even know the Holmgren era, let alone the Dennis Erickson era or the Tom Flores era or the Chuck Knox era, I get all that. But I felt that there was such a misrepresentation of what the Seahawks team was last year compared to this year. And now you have Sam Darnold signing a 3-year deal worth just north of $100 million. And it played out exactly like I thought it would when we found out on Friday that Geno Smith was being traded to the Raiders. I feel that Geno Smith and Sam Darnold are darn near the same quarterback. Geno Smith may be a little bit better, but Geno Smith is a little bit older. And I think Geno Smith's going to get a little bit more money than he got or will get from the Raiders than he would have gotten in Seattle, which is one of the reasons why he left. Sam Darnold is not getting nearly as much, but he is 27 years old, and you can balance these things out. He's going to make less than $40 million a year. I don't think that the Seahawks wanted to pay more than $40 million a year, so Sam Darnold fits. The tie-in with Clint Kubiak was mentioned on Friday. All of this falls into place, and while so many people thought that Sam Darnold was going to be a Seahawk, it was for the money that was the most important thing, because money matters, and we'll talk about how money matters throughout. But with this free agency, the Sam Darnold news isn't shocking. The only thing that was interesting to me was the numbers. Comes in under $40 million. As a Seahawks fan, I'm like, fine, sign me up. Let's start this new regime.
Oh, that's good that you're starting on a positive note. So just real quick question. If you could have kept Geno Smith for the same money, would you have?
Yes.
You would have.
Yes.
Okay. So you wouldn't have made changes, but you knew what was coming. You felt it was inevitable.
Correct.
Okay.
I just don't think, and it's funny because I felt there was revisionist history on Geno Smith. Not that people were throwing shade at Geno Smith like they did most of his career and then early in his time in Seattle. I think that the narrative has obviously changed, and there are numbers to back it up because of how Geno Smith has played. It's just the fact of Seattle sitting there saying to themselves, we have to address the offensive line. We have to address other pieces. And they have not hit in certain areas in the past. Was this core of Geno Smith and DK Metcalf, which was another huge move yesterday in the trade that they made, was that core going to get them to a Super Bowl? No. It was not going to. They were a 10-win team. I said it on this network. I think I even said it with Covino and Rich. They're a playoff. They may make the playoffs, but they're not a playoff team.
And that's I heard you say that yesterday, and I was like, that's an excellent way to put it. Because they were on the verge of getting into the playoffs. But were they a playoff team in comparison to the others? Not so much.
And Sam Darnold's final couple of games with the Vikings may have done, Seattle a favor. If he doesn't go out like that, he's probably making well north of $40 million. But I do think that there was a selective market to it. But it's interesting because I think Sam Darnold is the headliner of the day. But when you have so many moves in free agency, and Isaac's been trying to keep up with them for the last 4 hours, it seems to change by the minute. And we thought that Sam Darnold was probably going to be a Seahawk on Friday. So I'm not even sure if that's even the biggest news of the day, considering what's gone down in NFL free agency.
No, not at all. It was expected that he was going to be there. I guess the question was the numbers and the years, and it seems like you were right on the money about that.
I am under $40 million.
Yeah.
And that's what they wanted to pay Geno Smith. There was a report that came out that Seattle was maybe going to go north to $40 to $45 million. I don't know if that's true or not, but if it wasn't enough for Geno Smith to want to be there. A falling out on Thursday allowed the Seahawks to make the move on Friday to end up trading him. So if you're getting basically the same quarterback, where you have the same concerns of throwing interceptions, because they both in the past have had a tendency to throw interceptions. If you have a younger guy at a cheaper price and get a third-round pick, I just don't know how you can look poorly on that.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, I don't know who Sam Darnold is going to throw the ball to, but I guess that's something that you'll figure out at some point.
Down the road,
Just
Monty.
down the road. We're not worried about that right
Maybe
now.
they'll just run it 72 times a game.
There you go. Hey.
Well, with that offensive line that they haven't spent any money, that's the other part of this is I thought because they had all this money, look out world, look at all the players that the Seahawks are signing on the offensive line, and so far Darnold's been the only one.
That's it.
So I guess all of the Seahawks land is not happy, but I'm sure there are other teams in the National Football League that are happy today with free agency.
I'm sure there are. I'm really curious to know. We should ask Ian, our editor out there, how the Jets are feeling because I'm very intrigued with this Justin Fields signing for New York. I thought Justin Fields was going to stay in Pittsburgh. That's the vibe I got. And every time I asked around, speaking with Adam Kaplan on the weekend, it seemed like they wanted to keep him, not Russell Wilson. It seemed like they were more into Justin Fields.
Yes.
And so I really thought he was going to stay in Pittsburgh, and I didn't anticipate him going to New York. And the reason I'm so intrigued with this is because I feel that there are still open-ended questions when it comes to Justin Fields. I feel like with Sam Darnold, you kind of know what you're going to get. You're expecting a certain performance. With Justin Fields, I feel like there's maybe a positive expectation. Like, I'm just wondering how Jets fans are feeling because I'm very intrigued for him to go to New York.
And I'm in the camp that I think you know what you're going to get with Justin Fields.
You think you know what you're going to get?
I think he is what he is. And I feel that there are people around the league that are still waiting. And I actually understand. I feel that there's this underlying deal with Justin Fields because, and it goes all the way back to high school because of how highly touted he was. And honestly, quarterbacks, Sam Darnold is kind of the same thing where the talent is there. Mm-hmm. So you're going to get opportunity after opportunity. And sometimes you feel that it's wasted. But I feel with someone like Baker Mayfield, heck, maybe even Geno Smith for that matter. There was a point in Geno Smith's last year at West Virginia where he was the Heisman Trophy leader. Then Johnny Football took over and the rest was history. But that's how good Geno Smith was playing. There was a time when he was thought to be a first-round pick, maybe a top pick in the NFL. Ended up falling to the second round. Look at how many times Baker Mayfield had to turn things around. Goes from Cleveland where there's a falling out, goes to Carolina, doesn't work, has a great time with the Rams, ends up going to Tampa, wins the battle, and what do you know? He's the guy. A guy like Justin Fields, like Baker Mayfield, like Geno Smith, like Sam Darnold, get more opportunities because of who they were in a previous time of their career. Top high school prospect, top prospect going into college. Justin Fields was really good in his first year at Ohio State. The second year was a COVID year, and you're saying to yourself, all right, well, maybe what is what? But now, Justin Fields has been in the league for a handful of years with opportunities after opportunities, and I just feel that we do know who he is. And that actually may be a good thing with the New York Jets. But I think to your point of what makes Justin Fields so intriguing is I feel so many people do feel, hey, wait a sec, he could be that guy that made him that 5-star to go to Georgia and do what he did at Ohio State.
I don't know if he had all the right opportunities with Chicago. You could argue he didn't. You could, especially with what Chicago's doing now to help Caleb Williams. But I feel like with his short stint in Pittsburgh, the flashes were there. The flashes of there may be more that we haven't seen. And you're probably right that because of what he did in college and the expectation for so many years adds to this as to why I'm intrigued. Did he play with Garrett Wilson in college? Maybe, and then there's that connection. And also like the Jets going complete opposite of what Aaron Rodgers is. He left them such a bad taste in their mouth that they were like, we are going to go opposite here of what Aaron Rodgers is.
I think Monty has struck gold because she just said something. And by the way, for those of you that don't know, our coworker Jade's episode of People Puzzler is on our Fox local affiliate right now.
Look at that.
Yes. Just to let the people, if you catch People Puzzler, our great coworker Jade, who is awesome.
Yeah, she is.
I know how this turns out, so I won't spoil the ending for you. But I'm sorry, when a coworker's on a national game show, I have to mention
Give a little shout out, of course.
But you struck gold with this Justin Fields point because we blame the organizations instead of putting the responsibility on the player. And I think it's easy to do when you look at the Chicago Bears and what a mess that it was there.
I think that
we do that in this in these sort of situations of why maybe it didn't work out, why they showed flashes. I don't know if Pittsburgh is the greatest spot to be in, because recent history has shown they haven't handled their quarterback position correctly. They didn't handle it correctly with Ben Roethlisberger. They were completely held hostage by him late in his career because he didn't want to retire. He didn't want to leave. And so now you have Ben Roethlisberger, who can't throw the football 10 yards, still as your starting quarterback. Yep. So it's been mismanaged in a way. To see how Russell Wilson played at the end of the Steelers season made a lot of people like you and Kerry Rhodes, who we do the show with on Sunday, questioning if you should have kept Justin Fields in the whole time. And I think it's those questionable decisions that lead to the point that you're saying, that lead the door open.
Absolutely.
We don't want to blame the player, at least in this situation, because there was dysfunction with the Bears. No doubt about it. We saw it in this past season when Justin Fields wasn't even there. That was a constant. You want to hope and you want to believe that if things get straightened out, like they were in Minnesota with Sam Darnold, look at what it did for Sam Darnold.
I was just about to say, or you can even think of Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
Him leaving a quote-unquote bad organization and where he is now. Like that adds to it. When you see other players, you're like, no, look at them. They just needed to be in the right place at the right time.
I do want to bring in Chris Perfett, technical producer, Pride of Detroit.
Hello, Chris.
Hi.
I have a theory. I want to test this out with Chris. Chris Perfett's here, Jason Stewart, Isaac Lowenkron, all hanging out on Cavino and Rich. Aaron Glenn had a firsthand look at Justin Fields for a couple of years in Detroit, and now he's his starting quarterback. Do you think that played in him going to and bringing him into New York, is having that firsthand look of defending him and watching him as he did those couple of years?
I've got to think it's got to play a role. Like, I've been trying to wrap my head around this Justin Fields signing, because on first blush, it's just... I know there's not much of a market and not a lot that the Jets can do on drafting a quarterback right now, but like Justin Fields does not scream like one of the first options you would go to, but you've reset the culture there. You've cut out Aaron Rodgers. And I do think there is something, as I look more at Justin Fields, like, okay, I can see that vision there, Dan. Because of the experience, he knows what Justin Fields can do. You're not going to have a great passing quarterback with him. But when you're talking about Aaron Glenn, you're talking about what the Detroit Lions were doing when he was there, and, you know, he brought in Lions guys to be his OC and Tanner Engstrom. It's a lot of tight end stuff, running the ball, physical football. He's promised the same with the Jets, and I've got to feel like Justin Fields, who we know he's very good with his legs.
And he's tough.
That's the other thing, Monty. He's very tough. I'm starting to put it together a little bit in my head. I still don't know if I like the amount of money they've paid for him for that price, considering he couldn't play a full season for the Steelers last year, but I start to see the vision there, and it is that familiarity, Dan, that I think makes this work.
So I just brought up Justin Fields' game logs from 2022 and 2023 against Detroit. Passing-wise, 167 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception in their first meeting in 2022.
Okay.
Running the ball, I'm sorry, Chris, this may be flashbacks.
Oh, no. No.
Lions ended up winning the game, but 13 carries, 147 yards, and 2 touchdowns, and a 67-yard touchdown run. Lions killed him on New Year's Day of 2023, where Justin Fields only threw for 75 yards, had 10 carries for 132 yards. In their game that they had in 2023, or their matchups they had in 2023, Lions win the game against the Bears in 2023 on November 19th. Justin Fields threw for 169 yards and a touchdown, had 18 carries for 104 yards.
Yeah, one of those games they almost got the Lions, too, I remember.
Yeah.
Like, look, this is the two things Justin Fields was good at against the Lions. Aaron Glenn would know this. Aaron Glenn's defense liked to blitz a lot. Fields was good against the blitz, and Lions always had trouble dealing with a running quarterback, and Justin Fields can do that.
Yep.
So, yeah, I think the opportunity cost was absolutely there for the Jets.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Getting that firsthand look. This guy tore us up, and we had a difficult time in dealing with him. We want to run the ball. Aaron Glenn's brought in as a defensive coach. It makes a lot of sense. It actually, in a weird way, may make more sense for Justin Fields to the Jets than Sam Darnold to Seattle.
Well, I was about to say that. I was about to say.
Sorry,
so do you think maybe?
You can go ahead and say
No. It's funny because I was going to ask you that, because it seems as though if you told me in the pre-show meeting that you think that the Seahawks are going to have a run first approach to this season, And if you're going to do that, then maybe Fields would have made a little bit more sense than Sam Darnold. But at the same time, I don't see it. I don't know if I would have been as intrigued.
Yeah, I don't know if Justin Fields in Seattle
makes sense.
Correct.
Yes, I'm with you.
And as I said, I feel like I'm a Justin Fields fan.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel that the verdict is in.
Yeah.
And I think that the people who don't feel that the verdict is in, I
hear you. The ones that have made the decision, they've made it.
Here's the funny thing about Sam Darnold to the Seahawks is that I don't even know if the verdict is in on Sam Darnold, which I think it is, but I don't know if there's any way that he can match what he did last year. And I hope they're just trying to get maybe 85 to 90% of that. He was in such a unique, great position with Minnesota, with the coaching there and the people there and the targets that he had there with Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison and all of the weapons, that it worked out so well for him. It's going to be tough to match that success. We'll see how he does in Seattle. It's been an absolute crazy, crazy day.